Yeah, I'd seen this. Say boost drink. And I went into ask the African guy there. I think maybe from Ghana. I always ask for the drink with the others to criminal from me. And I quickly dismissed me like it was crazy. It's like, no, there's no boost drink. I told him it's a new drink. I mean, we don't know. But I saw the sign outside. I told him the post was still. I said, I'm going to check for him. He's like, no, we don't know. Yeah, I said, I was trying to play me like I'm crazy. So this I regard him so much. To be locking homeless up in the sidewalk. To them like we're crazy. They're just having a psychosis. And that's not good. So this policy, and I almost got angry because I knew they had it. Because why would I put a police in it? So I said, let me just be patient. Maybe I'll find it. And I shouldn't have to be the bigger person. This algorithm is setting people up for fun. So the police will be locking up homeless and treating us like crazy and encourage public also to help get the homeless people mental health. And to see, they're showing signs of confusion and stuff. And that's why they took me everywhere. My mother's daughters also joined in. Then locking my mother up while she was homeless. And the daughter said they were just trying to help her get government benefits. So that's why everybody joined in to frame her up as crazy. And they did it to me also. This was in 2015. That family was telling me, they thought I would help her get government benefits. That's why they framed up as crazy. She was having a heart problem. And apparently that's not enough to get government benefit. And so I had to give her the scare of her life. She was working, she didn't want no disability benefit. She was still working as a home attendant, and she had told me on the phone that she's going back to work after she got discharged from the hospital. And and they gave her the scare of her life and killed her. Then nobody would help me, would help me. Even some of the lawyers told me she died of her own stupidity. After someone had promised to help me, and I guess they want an investigator. And they said, she could have just played along as crazy and got that crazy check. And then like 4 years later, they did it to me to also frame me up as crazy. So they were just trying to help me to get a crazy check. Because that daughter was also telling me to go and lie and claim I'm crazy. So she's always been very abusive, that daughter, for landlady of my mother. And after she said that to me over the phone, the MTA and the police, they were setting me up everywhere. Because now they have an ally. In case they kill me, frame me up as crazy. So, I don't have any loving family member. And they went and locked me up in the psychiatric hospital. They had a guy, they were just sending people to attack me everywhere. People would grab my back door in the train track. And they say, look at what you did. You threw your bag on. I'm like, excuse me? People come and attack my little kids. I tell them to beat me or spit at me. And I would call the police. And we were all playing the gaslighting game. They said the MTA at that time. I guess my phone was being tapped because I was under immigration surveillance. And they were just using every information they were getting, from the surveillance. My friend had gone, I was going to help me around that time also. The police quickly went and killed them because I was suing the police for taking my home, the home my mother was living on Staten Island. And they went and killed every Garner. Then then my mother was killed in the hospital. Her own daughter's friend that's crazy. And then the next thing was that daughter brother encouraged me to go and apply for a crazy check also right now. And before you know it, I was being set up. So I was like, who is giving this my mother's daughter that idea to be setting people up to make it easy for them to be killed? Because once they misdiagnose you as crazy in the hospital, they'll abuse you. The other patients too will abuse you. So when they misdiagnosed me as crazy in 2019, around July 23rd, they had a guy, just abuse me. They will abuse they abuse crazy people in this country. That's what they do. If you think you're going to get a crazy check for free, they have their team of abusers, and they will deny everything. So you're crazy, don't remember what you're doing. They say, there's a hospital in Oklahoma. a disability, developmental disabled home manner. So they're abusing the developmental disabled, beat them up, choke them. I said they would deny it, and these people will end up with scars. And one person that was lying that he was also developmentally disabled went there to avoid going to prison, was sentenced to go there. And he said he saw everything that was happening, and he had to check out. I said, and nobody would believe him either, in Oklahoma. And, I said, once, he said the jury wouldn't even believe you that there's the systemic discrimination going on in America. Once there's this discrimination against crazy people, that nobody will believe anything you say anymore. So when I go to stores like this, and I couldn't look, I saw the new drink called Boost. It's advertised on your window, and the store worker should have gone and helped me check the window, find the serial number of the drink, and try to look through the computer to see what section it is in. See, and I was like, no, there's no drink called Boost. Just imagine stuff. So they locked me up in the psych ward also, tried to make me look like I was crazy after my mother suggested that to me over the phone, politely. And the MT introduced the program right away, saying they're going to be locking homeless up, called Top 50. It was a secret program, nobody knew about it. And I noticed they were sending little kids to spit at me, to jump me, and they were telling these kids they're going to get away with it, because they're going to diagnose this person as crazy. And if this person beats you up or whatever, you're going to get some money. Because at that time I was suing, so people always refer to me as a man. I guess to aggravate me. I was born a male, I'm not a woman. And the sending Jamaicans to antagonize me. My mother was killed after a Jamaican nurse was antagonizing her. My mother told that Jamaican nurse that she needed her body reposition, because my mother was put on a breathing tube, and she was laying in one position for too long. And the Jamaican nurse said that nobody's going to change your position. There's nobody available. You have to wait. And my mother was asking the nurse, like, why can't you change my position? My mother is a very slim lady. I didn't see that Jamaican nurse. I was talking to someone on the phone. But my mother is very slim. And Jamaican nurse said, no, you have to wait for somebody to come and change your position. So my mother was like, this is an abuse of the elderly. You can't leave somebody in a position too long. I was like, but that Jamaican nurse was just acting reckless. Especially she must have heard that my mother's daughters wanted to lock my mother up in the psych ward. And what they do in America is, if my mother was telling me that, say when somebody puts in an order to lock you up in the psych ward, like my mother's daughters was talking to the doctors behind my mother's back, saying my mother. So when somebody puts in an order to lock up in the psych ward, people start antagonizing you. So that so that I can report you're agitated. You're agitated, fighting with nurse, fighting with doctor. So my mother's daughter finally set her up. And my mother was saying she doesn't understand why those brothers came to the hospital. My mother didn't want them to come. She didn't tell them what hospital she was in. She said that daughter was poisoning her food. And when my mother was leaving that daughter in Pennsylvania, so that's why my mother got on the Greyhound to come to New York to go to the hospital to escape that daughter. And as soon as that daughter found out my mother was in the hospital, well, she had called my mother, and my mother explained that she's not in the hospital, that it shouldn't work. So like 2 days later, the daughter showed up at the same hospital. So my mother was like, how did the daughter get the address? She didn't tell the daughter the address. She didn't tell the name of the hospital. I said her daughters were antagonizing her, just demeaning her. And my mother was like suspicious that somebody had put in an order. So as soon as the daughters get there, the doctors and nurses started treating my mother funny. And they said in this country, so that you can issue a fake report, when they want to lock you up in the psych ward, they will hire people like agitators to agitate you, to get you angry, so they can put it there. I've been using an umbrella, somebody put it in. So they can put in in your report, patient experiencing agitation, you need a psychiatric care. In my case, they were sending people, little kids, they would hit me as I'm on the phone. Anytime I'm talking about my mother's daughter to lawyers in Harlem, and there's a park there, Morningside Park, and some little kids came with like either a metal pipe or a wood, a baseball bat, and boom, whacked me in the head. As soon as I saw my mother's daughter, they were hiding behind my back. So they were using little kids to antagonize me. My mother said her daughter brother is part of a gang. And I would notice anytime I call a lawyer to talk about my mother's daughter, they will surround me with black Americans that would jump me. And this continued for many, many years. I'm like, it almost drove me crazy. Like, is my mother's daughter a witch or what? Anytime I mention her name, little kids would jump me, black Americans would jump me. My mother said she's a part of a gang. But my mother didn't understand how a gang is able to get people's location. And I see that daughter always coming from Pennsylvania, antagonize me, Australia. So I found out from reading newspapers that, when you use drug in America, the FBI can arrest you and hire you as an informant. So someone like me, I've been under FBI in surveillance since I was arrested when my mother brought me to America as a child. They told my mother children are not allowed in America. And every other country that have been discriminating against children, separating them from their parents, they've gotten sued and they've stopped the practice. Like in Australia, they used to separate Indian children from their parents and put them in foster care. In Canada, they used to separate Indian kids from their parents.